Aggro Demon Hunter for Hearthstone Twist, Unending Aggression for the low cost of only 1,560 dust. I'm Uncorrupt, and I've got the deck list right here. Basically, the goal of this deck is really just punch your opponent in the face. You really don't want to overthink anything. We're just going to continuously hit our opponent in the face. Very, very rarely we actually trade for a minion. And I gotta say, it's extremely satisfying to be able to hit your opponent in the face for, 10 plus damage when those cards come together just right. So taking a quick look at the list, we really want to draw cards. We're going to dump our hand repeatedly with this deck, and then we're going to refill our hand with the draw cards, those of course being Sightless Magistrate, as well as the Magnifying Glaive. In addition to being able to play the really cheap cards that we have included in the deck, we have Dispose Evidence, as well as the Bibliomite, that's going to allow us to be able to take a card in our hand, stick it back in our deck, make our hand size smaller, and then allow us to be able to draw the maximum amount of cards off of these two guys right here. Quick mulligan guide for the deck. We're going to be looking to keep Battle Fiend, Demon Companion. We'll keep the Dread Prison Glaive. In addition, we're going to keep the Battle-Worn Vanguard and the Bibliomite. One thing to keep in mind here is you do not want to keep these card draw cards. It's going to be much better to be able to draw into those later after we've had the opportunity to be able to empty out our hand. I find that the games that I do lose with this deck, oftentimes it's because I end up with too many copies of the card draw options that kind of clog up our hand. You have no way to really dump them, and then you can't draw the additional cards out of your deck to be able to end the game. Looks like you've got a Priest here. I definitely want to keep the Battle Fiend. I'm actually considering a conditional keep to play this on one, and then on turn 2 I could play these guys to deal 4 damage and put a 3/4 in play. But I'm just going to keep to the what I'll call traditional mulligan. And I want to look for some of those other cards, specifically like a Bibliomite or a Battle-Worn Vanguard. And as you can see here, we do hit a Magnifying Glaive. Again, don't necessarily want this in your opening hand, but we do have it, so of course we're just going to play things out. And again, I mean, it's really just all about dumping our hand. We want to play as many cards as we can in every single turn because we really just want to be able to draw more cards out of our deck. That's just going to be damage going into our opponent's face here. With the Priest, as they heal our minion, thank you for that. I've been able to kill Priests as early as like turn 4 and turn 5 pretty commonly just because they tend to do nothing. This particular deck that we find in Hearthstone Twist. Summon the Demon Companion, and I'm going to coin out the Chaos Strike here. It's going to help us get just a little bit more damage. It does, of course, buff the Battle Fiend here, and we'll be able to push that damage face. So next turn, likely we're just going to Bibliomite to put something back into our deck. Hopefully we draw like a 1-cost card, really any 1-cost that we would like to be able to play. This being on the board might change things, though. Against this Priest, we really don't want the Nazmani Bloodweaver to stay on the board for very long, so I may actually have to address this. This is going to be one of the rare times that I mentioned where we're going to want to take a trade on the board when a minion is just so strong and potentially so deadly that we really just have to remove it. So that's a nice top deck. I'm just going to go ahead and Fell Barrage to be able to remove this. I'm going to trade with the less valuable minion, which is going to be that guy, and then we're going to put our 3/4 in play. So unfortunately, we've been just a little bit slow this game compared to what I would like to be, but we're just having to play the cards that we're drawing. And our opponent top decking the Raise Dead there, or rather Animate Dead. Really good for them, really bad for us. Again, we need to remove this. We don't want them getting a lot of discounts here. And hopefully they don't hit like the second Animate Dead. Good news for us is they don't have a whole lot of cards in hand. It looks like that could potentially change soon. They also have another one of those. That's going to get reduced. We really just need to shut down the card draw as much as we possibly can. So we're going to be trading for these 1/3s. So we're going to want a multi-strike here. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to spend our mana as well as we want to, but we're going to multi-strike, and we're going to remove as many of these guys as we can. The Nazmani Bloodweaver being on the board isn't as big a deal as the card draw. Our opponent only has now 2 cards in hand, so this is just going to be overall a lot better for us. And finally, I think next turn we're likely just going to go ahead and equip the weapon and Bibliomite something back. and remove as much as we can. Like to see a couple of 1/3s here rather than Nazmanis. Looks like there may be one Nazmani in hand. And you can see our opponent actually gives up. Really with no cards in hand, they just weren't able to deal with what we were coming with. And so you can see here, the games are going to be quick, and we're going to be able to climb quickly. Back in against the Rogue here. Again, we're keeping Battle Fiend, and we're going to keep the Bibliomite. Bibliomite is just really strong to have the 5/4 on turn 2, and then it keeps our hands small for when we do draw into the Glaive or the Magistrate. It ends up just being really good. So we want to get the Battle Fiend in play here. Even if this isn't active, if I have one extra mana, I'm going to dump the Metamorphin on the board. Keeping in mind, we just want to empty our hands to be able to draw additional cards here. Interesting that our opponent decides to trade that and not actually equip it. If we Bibliomite, we would want to shuffle the Fell Barrage. I'm considering equipping the weapon and then playing the Metamorphin, but putting the 5/4 in play is really just too good. I definitely want to keep the weapon. And let's see, we're going to equip the weapon. Maybe I actually put the Metamorphin back. Next turn, we could go Weapon Fell Barrage. It potentially pushes damage face. Or next turn, we just don't weapon and we go Fell Barrage Metamorphin. I think I'm going to put the weapon back here. It is a little bit close. I'm not 100% confident in that decision, to be quite honest. If we equip the weapon, that Dread Prison Glaive, we actually just want to punch our opponent in the face every single turn, even if we're not able to buff our attack. You know, we don't want to save charges from what I've seen so far in the Twist meta. And we're just going to go ahead and do this and go face. From what I've seen in the Twist meta, a lot of decks aren't necessarily playing minions on the board that we can actually get value out of the Honor Kill on the Dread Prison Glaive. So we definitely just want to make sure that we're smashing face as much as possible. And our opponent, I believe that's both copies of Deafen now have been used, which is going to be good for us. Unfortunately, they've been able to put damage into our face every turn as well. The Bibliomite still on the board. That's going to be good news. And so we're just going to go ahead and play cards here. And I'm actually going to hold on to the Fury. Normally, you just want to dump cards as quickly as you can with this deck. You can see our opponent's already down to 10. At turn 5, of course, it's going to go to 3 attack. That could be a big deal. We need every possible attack. And if the top deck is like a Sightless Magistrate or a Magnifying Glaive, at this point, we would be able to play this and our card draw option just to be able to get extra cards in hand. So not a super big deal just because of the turn that we're on. And we see that our opponent is able to remove our minion, which is as expected. And you can see here we hit the Magistrate. So we're going to Fury, we're going to draw cards. It also gives our opponent 1 card, but we are going to be okay with that. We're going to punch face, and then we're going to pass turn. So next turn, our opponent's at 7. We actually have 7 in hand. So as long as they don't use the, I think it's Cloak of Shadows, as long as we're able to hit our opponent, they're going to be dead here. We'll have to see what they come up with for this particular turn, but you can see it's looking like potentially a kill on turn 6 against Weapon Rogue. I think Weapon Rogue is looked at as a deck that's, you know, does quite a bit of damage in this particular format, being Hearthstone Twist. So it doesn't look like they're going to be able to do anything here. They can't even remove the 5/4. I spoke too soon. 5/4 is gone, but again, we're just going to kill him with the damage that we have in hand. We've got this, we've got this, we've got that. You can see here, here's that big satisfying 10 damage swing. Feels so good. Up against Warlock this time, we've got some good cards in our hands, so we're definitely going to want to keep all of those. Likely just going to coin out the Bibliomite. Getting the 5/4 on the board on turn 1 is actually pretty insane. And you can see here just how quick these games are. We're talking like 4 or 5 minute games of Hearthstone. Might be actually Imp Warlock here, which is pretty interesting. I'm definitely just going to go ahead and get the 5/4 out on the board. And we are going to put back... I think I'm actually going to put back the Battle Fiend here. Turn 2 might actually be a multi-strike. I would like to be able to save this. They may potentially just take a trade here. They actually do just take the trade, so I think I definitely just want to go ahead and get down the Battle-Worn Vanguard. Likely going to be safe, or hopefully going to be safe against this particular Warlock deck. Next turn we could have like Multi-Strike, which is going to activate the Metamorphin. We do. And we're going to want to remove these imps off of the board. That's going to be good a little bit later, so I'm going to Multi-Strike, and we're going to be removing these guys. And I'm going to take a value trade here. This is one of the rare times I think we want a value trade because the location is on the board. And then I'm going to get down the 3-4 as well. Pass it back to our opponent. Next turn, or rather, I think we save the mana burn for turn 5 in case they have like an Imp Lord Rafam. That'll be a good way to try to counter it. Also going to be a counter to something like the hero card, which could be pretty good. If they ever actually play those imps, they're going to be doing a lot of self-damage, which is going to be good for us. And now we're going to have to decide exactly how many trades we want to make here. I get the Multi-Strike again, which is really good for us. Opponent is low on cards, so I'm going to Multi-Strike. And then I'm going to draw. Probably should have drawn first, but it's not going to change the play. And I'm going to take the damage off of this guy. This is going to be a lot of damage. I do want to go ahead and just get rid of the imps on the board, I think. And then I can hit like that. That's going to give us even more stuff. And we'll go ahead and take that trade as well. So I'm trying to keep the board clear of imps as much as possible. Keep our opponent from really being able to develop a board presence. They potentially draw a lot of cards if they have imps on the board. That's going to be good news for us. Hopefully our opponent doesn't hit the board sweeper here. That's part of this package. And so you can see we're feeling pretty good here. I'm definitely going to play the mana burn. I don't want to have to deal with a 6-cost card. Either the hero card or the Rafam is going to be really good. We have 7. This would be 10, 11. So I'm just going to go ahead and I think I want to... I want to attack. I probably want to attack with the weapon. So I'm going to mana burn. I will equip the weapon and hero power. And I think I'm at a point where I'm just ready to go face here. I'm going to hit face rather than trading for the 4-4. I feel like at this point it would really just be over trading. And then everything else is going to go face. Our opponent's only going to have 4 mana. I don't think there's anything that's going to allow them to be able to kill us here with just 6 damage on the board. And then we should have lethal, assuming they don't have some type of healing. And it looks like we're actually going to be wrapping this up. I'm Uncorrupt. Thank you so much for watching. You can see I've been having a lot of fun with this deck. It's quick games, makes for a quick climb in Hearthstone Twist. We have the event going on currently to be able to get you some extra card packs if that's what you desire. And you take a look up here, you know, 17 and 6, we're actually going to 18 and 6. The deck has been performing really, really well for me in this new mode. Again, I'm Uncorrupt. Thank you for watching, and good luck out on the ladder.